Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. I graduated fashion school and I did not touch my machine for multiple years. I know there's a lot of my friends in the same graduating class that had the same experience, and if that sounds like you, stick around. People assume that when you graduate from fashion school, the end result is going to be that you're going to become a designer. I thought that when I was still in school. I even thought that when I had an internship in Brooklyn and I was so ready to jump out there and apply to all the jobs. And it just didn't work out. Sometimes it works out. Sometimes you end up at kind of the base level job and you work your way up. And if you live in the Midwest like I do, that just doesn't happen. Not only did I not go straight into the industry, there was no industry to go into. All people were looking at were my 1 or 2 internships and my phone center experience. And that's where I ended up going because you do have bills to pay. In my case, many student loans. We had all these internships with these great companies and career fairs, but a strong majority of the people I graduated with did not go into the industry. We are from the Midwest, so unless you were willing to uproot your life and move without any money, which a lot of us were not, you did not end up in the industry. Some people ended up finding weird little pockets and weird little niches to branch out into in smaller cities and in places like LA or Nashville. But for the majority of us in my class anyway, we ended up just working jobs. We had bills to pay. Something that I learned in my trip to New York this year from one of my friends who graduated from a different fashion school, but did go for a couple years at my school, was that fashion really is a lot more wrapped up into the socioeconomics of a person getting into it than it is talent or ambition or drive. Because I didn't go straight into the industry right after graduation back in 2011, I didn't really feel like it was the right thing for me. Obviously, the universe was saying no, so I just moved on. I would do things on the side for friends, sew this, make that. I ended up with a lot of oddball projects, thankfully, to keep me sane, but I didn't end up with the portfolio that I had dreamed of. A lot of times it just felt like I missed the window. At the end of the day, if you're not willing to uproot and go to New York, go to LA, and have expendable income to do those things, or you're not, doing the big dreamer move, then this might be you. You might have a great career, but just not in fashion, not in art, not being creative. So the rebrand on the site, the rebrand on this entire platform is really just following the process of me making my first collection. I'm finally going to do it. I've been doing research, trying to figure out the logistics of things, and I just wanted to share a little bit about where I'm at. This is my first real collection as an adult, not for school, not for a teacher, not for a grade. I don't have to water down anything because of the fabrics I want to choose. I don't have to water things down because my professor doesn't believe in the concept. Over time, using my skills on the side, working and learning new alterations techniques, working for friends, and making sure they have great costumes to go out in. It just got me thinking that maybe I'm not a fashion designer because I'm not doing fashion design. When you think about it, a lot of sewing and craft jobs are kind of put in one big bucket. I touch on this a little bit in some of my shorts, but essentially, when someone knows that you sew, their first inclination is not to ask, do you also design? Their first inclination is to ask you to hem their pants. And I don't do that. They're not going to ask you about your concepts on life and how you find inspiration from amazing documents and dig into theories about design and art and the usefulness of both. They're going to ask you, how useful can you be? And when it comes to sewing, it is a useful skill and can be a part of multiple industries. And that's how a lot of people end up falling into costume design or sewing machine operator jobs because there is no defined ruling on where to use your sewing best. So when I say I wasn't doing fashion design, therefore I wasn't a fashion designer, I was a lot of things, but I just was not a fashion designer over the last 10, 15 years. I was an alterationist. I was a luxury alterationist when I got sick of hemming pants. I was a wedding alterationist. I was a specialist. I was a sewist. I was a first hand. I was a wardrobe assistant. All of those things are different career paths. And because of that, when I jumped in and out of each one of those, I was wasting time because I wasn't really building up the fashion design skill set. I was building up the sewing skill set. When it comes to fashion design, an opportunity to really jump into fine artistry. You don't have to prove anything if you're just going into fashion design specifically for the concept. When you're in that mindset, you have something to say and you're saying it through your art, and you've chosen the medium of fashion and apparel design. You don't have to mass market it. You just want to have it out there. You want to show the world that you can do these amazing things, be it conceptual, or maybe it's something about the textile itself that you've done, any kind of fabric manipulation. And what are you saying about that? So when it comes to a fashion collection, you're really digging into who you are. And it reminds me of Little Women, which is my favorite book, favorite movie, Winona Ryder only. And it's a conversation between she and Friedrich Baer, and it's just talking about how she can write great things and cool monsters and scary stories are really going to fly off the shelves, but they're not true to her. At the end of the story, we find out she's writing about her family, and that's really what has her take off as an author. So if you're watching this thinking that you should be further along, you might be right. You might just be spinning your wheels in all of the wrong places or just not working on your craft at all. And it's really easy to happen because we have bills to pay, 9 to 5 jobs, kids, all kinds of responsibilities that when we work on creativity or taking the time out to sew something for a weekend, it feels a little frivolous. It feels a little silly to be in this room. It feels silly to have enough crafts and supplies and notions to even fill a room, in my case. We're still working on getting it organized. It feels a little silly to take 12 hours on a weekend to work on a project or to volunteer your services for a local children's theater or give yourself the free time to sit and think in a park. It seems silly because we have other responsibilities that people need us for. But honestly, in the last couple of years, it really occurred to me that when I'm not doing these things, I'm not happy. If I prioritize doing the creative things first, everything else falls into place. I'm more functional when I can focus on something that I really am intrinsically motivated to do. Intrinsically motivated is just a term that is essentially you wake up and you want to do it. Just like Sister Act 2, if you wake up and you want to sing, you're a singer. It might just be 10 minutes after work, an hour a day, 2 hours on a weekend, or in my case, a whole Saturday, and I have to sacrifice my whole Sunday to catch up with the stuff I didn't do. Essentially, it's just about that momentum. There's no right or wrong, and no one's grading you. So just keep working towards something. That's the biggest note here. So if you're watching this and you're like, I should have never stopped, I should have kept going, or maybe you just graduated or you're on your way to graduation and you're afraid of what's on the other side of that. As long as you are focused on keeping up with your creativity, staying interested, staying on the pathway to be a designer and not necessarily getting distracted with other crafty things, you can do whatever you want to do. I say this all the time. We're adults, and what makes it hard to be an adult is that there are so many options. It's not there's few, it's that there's too many. If you want to go to school, there are scholarships and there are ways of getting money, loans and things like that. There's risks to everything. Honestly, if I wanted to go back to school right now and be a lawyer, which I did practice for the LSATs like the first half of this year, and I might do it again when I get bored here in the next couple weeks, you could go back to school. You can try again. You can do other things. Like, no one's going to stop you from spending your 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. hours on creating a new portfolio. I literally did that in going and taking a couple classes at the community college to get some graphic design credentials under my belt. No one's stopping you from getting a Google certification and making sure that you have more options so that you can get a more flexible job, so that you can do more things with your free time. Obviously, there's responsibilities that we all have and there are barriers to entry, but as long as you're working towards it, focusing on your goals makes the day-to-day a lot easier. Right now, I'm focused on working on this collection, getting it onto paper. I've got my mood boards that I've worked on. I've got some incredible ideas, and I really want to break that down into actual functional work. So if you're still around, just so you know, this is not about making $1 million in 2 weeks. This isn't about making a cute dress out of a tablecloth. This is about someone who just wants to get back to what they actually wanted to do at 18 and kind of figuring it out along the way. So right now, my work for this collection looks very quiet. It's research, mounting things to boards and making things pretty, just getting myself excited about researching more into my concepts and really getting my thesis pinned down for the collection. And it still counts. Just because I'm not sewing 1,000 things frantically like I'm on Project Runway doesn't mean it doesn't count. If you've been to fashion school or if you've worked in the industry, it could take 18 months, 2 years, 5 years to do a collection. It just depends on the capital, the energy, and the time that you put into it. So it's just one of those things that we're in the beginning phase. We're in research and development. It's a whole topic. This channel is not about perfection. This is about being realistic, working how you can, and coming up with something nice at the end of it. So if you're here and you feel behind, you're probably not behind. You're just ready to start a new chapter. If any of this resonates with you, go ahead and stay a while.